They're making it sound like it's a horrible thing. But what they are not explaining to you, and this is where Democrats are not being honest, is that there are a lot of people who don't need the insurance. Most people in their 20s and 30s don't need insurance. They don't go to see a doctor even once. They could go to physical checkup once a year. They don't need insurance. So many young people who don't need insurance, don't have any conditions, they've been healthy throughout their teenage life. There's nothing to require them to have insurance. They don't have insurance. Now, for 5 years, if you're paying $6,000 premium, you pay $30,000. If you have put that $30,000 in the bank, you'll be collecting interest. If you choose a good stock, those $30,000 will become like $60,000 in a matter of 5 years. But because you're paying annual Obamacare insurance because you were required by law, if you don't pay, you have to pay several $100,000 a month when you pay the taxes under Obamacare. You can begin to see why President Donald Trump won in 2016. And the Democrats are so stupid, they don't see this. And the debate of Thursday in Las Vegas explained this. So all the middle-class Americans watching that debate are shaking their heads and saying, Democrats don't get it. We voted for Trump. We're card-carrying Democrats, but we voted Trump for Trump because our family is suffering under Obamacare because we had to have insurance. And our employers do not give insurance anymore because since Obamacare, insurance premiums have gone up and companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, cannot afford to get insurance for their workers. So Democrats sitting in the street watching at home or in a bar watching the debates are shaking their heads and saying none of these Democrats get it. Let's go from candidate to candidate. You have Biden, who could win this election if he's not so wedded to Obamacare, cannot stop talking about Obamacare. Because he thinks, and this is where his campaign managers are probably incompetent, he thinks that tying himself to Obamacare will get him votes. And this is the stupidity of the Democratic Party. They don't know why they lost in 2016. And I'm here to explain it to you. Some of you may be Democrats, and some of you may know this or not know this, but I want you to understand the crisis that we are facing in the healthcare industry from an informed expert perspective, which I am. Because you need to understand what's happening in America in order for us to help Americans in the healthcare crisis. Thursday's debate showed us none of the Democrats understand. None of the Democrat presidential candidates understand. Their campaign managers don't understand. They don't understand the suffering of the American people in the healthcare area. Biden wants to continue this horrific Obamacare that those who have Obamacare do not want, but have because they are required by law to have. So before Obama, when 30 million Americans were uninsured, most of them were happy because they did not have to get insurance that they did not need. They paid for what they needed. When they got sick, they went to the doctor, paid for it out of pocket, and it did not come close to the amount of premiums paid required by Obamacare and President Obama. And that is why President Donald Trump won. Because President Donald Trump did not understand exactly what's happening with the middle class people with Obamacare. He is a wealthy man, he has great insurance. But he understood that people are unhappy with Obamacare. And as a businessman, he understood when people don't want something, in a supply and demand economy, you don't keep pushing the supply. Because eventually, customers will be upset and will leave. And in the case of election, it's about customers leaving the Democratic Party and voting for the opposite party, even if they hate the party. So Democrats are not understanding this situation. Democrats are establishment, people who are politicians, campaign managers, campaign strategists. They're thinking Democrats hate President Trump. Maybe true. Maybe some Democrats do hate President Trump. What they don't understand is they will vote for President Trump because they hate Obamacare more. Because if you're a family making $45,000 a year, who's required to pay $12,000 in insurance premiums and have to pay out of pocket until your deductible of $12,000 is met by Obamacare, $24,000 per year is going on healthcare services where you are having less than $30,000 to feed your family. Don't you think families like this are losing sleep every night? Mom and dad who work hard jobs, father lifting crates and boxes from Walmart at $8.55 an hour. It's not going to get any better at $15 an hour. Because the insurance problem of $20,000 a year is not going to be solved if you're getting paid $15 an hour. Let's say we raise your salary, your pay from $45,000 to $65,000. Do you think your situation is going to get better with raising minimum pay when you still have to pay $22,000 to $24,000 per year in healthcare costs? Because you have to buy insurance and your insurance premiums do not cover the deductible of required $12,000 a year. So let's say you make $65,000. Now you're in a higher income bracket. You have to pay more taxes. So after taxes, your $60,000 dwindles, and now you have to pay $20,000 out of pocket. So you're down to something like $35,000 or less. So raising minimum wage to 15 is not the way you're going to solve the healthcare problem. This healthcare problem is the biggest problem right now for most families. And that is why President Trump won in 2016. Because people who hate the Republican Party, people who may hate Trump, just wanted out of Obamacare. Have you not had situations in your life where you're choosing between two things you hate? You hate this and you hate this too, but which one do you hate more? And that's the one you're going to leave. And people face these realities every year. Normal people face having to choose two things they hate, but they choose something they hate less. And that's what happened in 2016. Yes, there were those who enthusiastically supported President Trump. I'm not saying that there weren't. But many people were choosing between two things that they disliked. But when it comes to family finances, $20,000, that's almost a job for a working class American. And they're not going to vote in a Democrat, whether it's Biden, Sanders, or Elizabeth Warren, if they believe that Obamacare is going to continue. Democrats voted for President Trump because he promised to abolish Obamacare. Now, President Trump is in a slight problem because he did abolish Obamacare. But the fact is he tried. And he still wants to abolish Obamacare. And that's why Democrats will vote for President Trump again, because he hasn't changed his position that Obamacare must be abolished and replaced. And that is the only way to go. Because we have a broken system. We're not just talking about a case or a situation that's broken. We're talking about a whole system that is broken. System of Obamacare, the marketplace, that is broken. And especially for Asian families and Hispanic families who are small business owners, rising insurance costs is a problem because they have to get insurance for themselves as small business owners. So you have many immigrant families who are now having to pay higher premium for higher deductibles of the rules. Very upset, even in Virginia's 8th district. Now, it is our job to help them. For me, as someone who's running against Don Beyer, who supports Obamacare, helping them is first showing them that there's another way, that they don't have to be stuck with Don Beyer. They don't have to be stuck with Obamacare. You know how, domestic abuse victims, wives that are beaten by their husbands, sometimes they're resigned to their situation. It's called learned helplessness. Some people do not think that they could get out of their helpless situation. Scientists did an experiment on a dog, or it was some kind of animal. And it really is a little bit cruel, but they had a dog in a cage, and they opened the cage, and every time the dog exited the cage, they gave the dog an electric shock. Not a really strong one, but enough to give pain. And they did that every time the dog came out of the cage, or some kind of animal. After a while, they opened up the cage door, and dog will not come out. Even when nobody's putting any kind of electric thing around. Even when there's nobody around, dog will not come out of the cage when the cage door was open. Because dog has psychologically conditioned himself to thinking that he's going to be shocked when he gets out, even though eyes, senses tell you otherwise. Even though you can see that you're not going to be shocked, you have this fear that it's going to be shocked. And some people call that PTSD, right? Soldiers who are in the battlefield, who experience a lot of violence, they come home and they still have nightmares about it, and that is affecting their daily life. With their eyes, they see that it's not a battlefield. With their nose, they smell that it's not a battlefield. With their ears, they can hear that it's not a battlefield, but they still think they feel like they're still in a battlefield. And that's what we call PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Unfortunately, many people, unless they are shown the way by an expert counselor, an expert, they think that there's no way out, that their state of helplessness is permanent. And that's why I'm coming in here in Virginia's 8th district to show Virginia's 8th district, no, you don't have to be helpless. You don't have to stand in pharmacy line explaining to me why Obamacare is horrible for your family, it hurts your finances, family-wise, you're struggling to survive because of Obamacare, and you're still voting Democrat. You don't have to still vote Democrat. I will liberate you from your cage from which you don't think you can escape. That's why I'm running for Congress, because I'm here to help you and your family escape the horrible domestic situation that the Democrats and Obamacare and the worst president in the history of the United States, Obama, has created for you. And that is why I'm running. Because I am here to say, take my hand and come with me away from the horrible situation Don Beyer has created for your family. Yes, on the outside you're well dressed, you're polite, and you're suppressing your tears to smile, while in the back of your mind you're thinking about $20,000 a year you have to pay in healthcare expenses because of Obamacare. I understand your pain. I know where you are because I have talked to you, and I am you. Unlike Don Beyer, who has no inkling what horrible things Obamacare has done to people on Obamacare in Virginia's 8th district. He doesn't want to hear your story. He wants to persuade you, or maybe shock you with that electricity that Obamacare is the one for you. That's the only option for you. Don't come out of your cage. You're going to be shocked with that electricity called Obamacare. And that is where I come in. I'm here to free you from your cage, to liberate you from your chain, to liberate you from your psychological bondage to the Republican Party, and you're feeling that that is the only option for you. No. Don Beyer is not the only option. The Democratic Party is not solution. Obamacare is not your only option. And I understand those who emphasize that, such as President Trump, won the election, won your votes. I understand that. Now, going back to the Democratic debates from Thursday, what are the other options that have been suggested? Other suggestion options include Medicare for all. Now, Bernie Sanders represents Medicare for all, but there are others who kind of think about Medicare for all as a solution. Now, let me tell you how ridiculous that is. Now, my father and my mother are retired. They're on Medicare, which is supposedly free. Did you know that Medicare is administered by private insurance companies? Private insurance companies, like United Health, which is existing to make profit, is the one that is administering your Medicare. So the whole Medicare system is not a government program, as Sanders is deceiving you to be. Medicare is a government program, but it's a government program that uses the middleman of private insurance, like United Health, Aetna. They use private health. The difference is, because it's government program, you have less options. Because private insurance middleman working for Medicare can bypass a lot of regulation. They can do things that can create problems for you. How do we know? Because there's Medicare Part B. What is Medicare Part B? You have to pay out of pocket for extra coverage. Why would you need to pay $500 a month for extra coverage if you are on a good plan that pays for your health care? You are retired, you're not making any money. They say you need $3.5 million to survive from retirement to death if you live to be 85 and retire at 65. $2.5 million. Who has that in retirement funds? You need $2.5 million because you have to pay for Medicare Part B. That has been calculated into it. If your health care covers everything, then you should not have to get Medicare Part B. But why do you have to get Medicare Part B? Because Medicare is a government program that utilizes private insurance. Private insurance want to make profit, so they're going to find ways for you to pay extra. So my parents pay $500 extra every month, and they have no income. Because Medicare doesn't cover enough. And you are telling me, Mr. Sanders, that you want Medicare for all? Now, let's logically unpack this. This is what I mean when I say average Americans looking at what Bernie Sanders is saying, who have parents with Medicare, they see how stupid Bernie Sanders' plan is. And Pete Buttigieg, being a small town mayor, doesn't understand the ramification at the national level. So all he can talk about is, oh, how much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? He doesn't understand the real issues, Pete. Pete just doesn't get it. And that's what is shown at the dysfunctional level of the Democrats. We have one guy, a career Washington, D.C. politician, who probably doesn't know a single person in his family or among his closest friends who has Obamacare, who probably never took the time to talk to people on Obamacare, who is talking about Medicare for all, probably hasn't done a single research on Medicare. If Medicare is a good system, And people are required to pay additional premiums in Plan B to supplement the needs that exist. What does that mean when we have Medicare for all? Now, let me logically put this in a way that everyone can understand. You have Medicare now. It's a government program, but it uses private insurance companies. Private insurance companies want to make profit. That's what they do. So they're going to find ways to make profit. So they come up with Part B. They cover less with the government program that they actually are the middleman for, so that they can charge everybody, all the retired people, more. Can you imagine every retired person paying $500 more for supplemental Medicare? They came up with this. Government's going to go along with it because government is what? Not the real insurance provider, right? They use private insurance middlemen, and private insurance middlemen is, we want this, we're not going to do anything for you if you don't give us this. Government says, okay, we'll give you this. So every retired person has to pay $500 or more in Medicare Part B, and they have no income. So that's current Medicare. Now, Obama's plan is bad, but that may even be worse. We're not talking about the cost to the government, we're talking about cost to you when you retire. And if you retire, cost to you now. Now, Bernie Sanders wants to have Medicare for all. So this is not just going to be for the population that are on Medicare, but for everyone else. $500 is insurance premium. So let's say Bernie Sanders becomes president. That would be a nightmare come true. First thing he does is to make Medicare for all, which means he will be using private insurance companies, middlemen that basically operate Medicare programs. Now, everybody here has Medicare under Bernie Sanders America, Nightmare America. Now, every one of you, if you want to die from lack of full coverage in your insurance, we'll get Medicare Part B. How much do you have to plan every month for Medicare Part B? Every one of you? $500. That's $6,000 a year for each and every one of you under Bernie Sanders' Nightmare America, where there's Medicare for all. Yes, it's going to cost $3 trillion to get Medicare for all, but yes, you will have to pay $500 per month, $500 a month for this Medicare All program. Because that's the current Medicare program. So when Bernie Sanders is saying, oh, it'll be free for everybody, that's a lie. How many people do you know who do not have supplemental Medicare? They have to pay for that supplemental Medicare. And in Bernie Sanders America, you will have to pay for this supplemental Medicare, $6,000 a year until you retire, and you still have to pay after you retire because it's the same plan. It's Medicare for all ages. That's a nightmare. $6,000 a year in insurance premiums per year, in Plan B, Part B, Medicare. Who can stand that? That's a lot of money. And they will have family Medicare Part B plans as well, which will be like $12,000 a year. It's like having the worst of both worlds, Obamacare and Medicare for all. So do you see why I need to run? I am running because I feel a love for humanity, love for my fellow Americans, and I feel your pain. That's why I'm running. I am running to make your life better by helping you to end this nightmare in America. You lose with every single Democrat who becomes president. I've told you why Biden's plan doesn't work. I told you why Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's plan doesn't work. enough money for anything? Does that make sense to you? 3 cents tax on everyone? I mean, geez, there are 300 million people. 1 cent is, $1 cent is $3 million. 3 cents tax, what's that going to do? I think Elizabeth Warren, she's at Harvard, and I think she thinks that we're all stupid, and so she throws out these things thinking like, well, I'm a professor at Harvard, whatever I said, everyone's going to listen to. But no, people think 3 cents tax, that doesn't make sense to anyone. How are you going to get anywhere with 3 cents? People throw away 3 pennies if they have them, because they don't want it to jingle in their pocket. And you're saying 3 cents tax is going to do anything for America? Does anybody really buy that? And that is why Elizabeth Warren hasn't been getting the votes. Because people cannot buy into a 3 cent tax idea. It just doesn't make sense to them. Biden has been losing to Bernie Sanders. Why? Because he keeps grabbing onto, hugging his, Obamacare. And that's, people voted for Trump because of Obamacare. Why would they want to vote for Biden, who wants to continue Obamacare? So it makes logical sense that Biden is like in the last place. Because that's the reason why Trump won. So somebody needs to kind of get this message to him. Maybe somebody here can kind of relay the message to Biden and can change his campaign strategy, maybe to survive this thing. He just doesn't know what's going on. The kind of things he says doesn't make sense. So I don't think I need to talk more about than that. And Klobuchar, I like Klobuchar because she comes from working class and she has made herself into somebody important. But I hear her drone on and yell at the top of her screaming voice. And I ask myself, what is she actually saying right now? And I tried to unpack that, and I don't know if you saw the Thursday Democratic debates. I came to realize that every time she's talking in Democratic debates, she tells the same story. I don't know if it's like a broken record. Every debate, she tells the same story. And it's touching, the stories that she tells. I'm an immigrant, and the immigrant life is hard. Every immigrant in America suffered. And immigrants still suffer. But when Klobuchar kind of is too fixated on her suffering as an immigrant, it becomes a problem because we as Americans are looking for solutions. And we understand that her family suffered, that we're in unions, we are suffering as immigrants. There are a lot of Americans in Virginia State District who suffer because of Obamacare, for example, and healthcare burdens. We all suffer. Not just immigrants suffer. There are white Americans who've been here for 400 years who are suffering because of economic situations. And so all of us suffer. Now, with Amy Klobuchar, the problem is she's not able to describe a concrete plan. And I think Elizabeth Warren put it best when she said, you only have 2 paragraphs for healthcare. You don't have a plan. And I think, maybe Elizabeth Warren may be right, because every time people ask Klobuchar about her healthcare plan, she keeps talking about her coal mining father. And as much as I enjoy that story, the question was about healthcare, not about, her immigrant father. And so my question is, can we have a president who keeps going back to her, how some people have happy place, but Amy Klobuchar's sad place, her husband having a TIU, the sad place, she keeps throwing out her sad places at us. And after a while, we feel for her, and we celebrate with her that her family members survived and thrived. But at some point, you're like, come on, let's turn it away from you, and let's turn it toward American people. We want to hear what you would do for Americans. And so that's where I think Amy Klobuchar, she's not getting much votes in Las Vegas. And I'm like, Amy just has to kind of think about other people. I know, everybody hurts. As the REM song goes, everybody hurts. And you heard it before. But we need solutions for America. And that's where Thursday debate told us that none of these Democrats have an answer to our